So what I want to do now, I want to be able to catch every exception that happens in the application when the application is running, right? And if you remember, if we go back and we go to the resource, right? So let's go into the, oops, I don't know what that is. Let's go into the resource, right? So if you go into the resource, this is where all the requests are gonna come in, right? Anytime someone try to access the application, the request is gonna come here, right? So we have to find a way to make sure that whenever the controller is being accessed, right, and then something happens with the request, either like they pass in bad data, or they pass in something that they shouldn't have passed, or they just or something just went wrong with the application with the request. So we want to be able to from this request and then send them a response back, and this is where the controller advice come into play. So as you can see here, we just have a REST controller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create another class, and I'm gonna call it exception handling, and it's gonna have the annotation REST controller advice. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna handle all of the exceptions that occur in the application whenever the requests are coming in. So let me show you exactly what I mean. So let's go into the exception package, and let's just go ahead and create a new class, and I'm gonna call it exception handling, right? So this is the class that I'm gonna use to handle all the exception, right? So this class, I'm gonna go ahead and annotate it with at REST controller advice, because this is a REST API application. So it has to be REST controller advice. So REST controller advice, right? So what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow this to behave somewhat like a controller, but just to handle exception. So now I'm gonna handle all of the exception inside this class right here. And then all I have to do here now is to just have the actual controller extend the exception handling. So we're gonna do exception handling class. Okay, so this is gonna solve our problem. So anytime an exception occurs in this class, it's gonna look here to see if there's any handler for that exception. And if it finds it, then it's gonna go with the handler that it finds in this class right here. So which means that we're gonna have to put all of our handling of exceptions in this class right here, and that's what we're gonna do. So there's a few things that I'm gonna need. The first one is going to be a logger. So let's do private logger, and that's coming from SLF4J. I think this stands for simple logging for Java or something like that, but that's the one that we need. So let's do that again, this one, and let's just call it logger, and let's just call the logger factory. So logger factory that get logger, and we just want to pass in the get class. That's gonna return a logger for that class, because we're gonna need to log certain things. So I'm gonna need a bunch of like messages, like when I'm sending an exception, I can say something like, email I didn't find the email, or email already exists, and things like that. So let's see if we can put in some of those constant. So I created a bunch of constant. As you can see, there's one for account locked, and I just put a message for that. And there is another one for a method is not allowed. So if you're supposed to send a get request and you send a post request, then I'm gonna send this message. And you're gonna see how I'm gonna use those in a minute. It's all gonna make sense. And I have another one for internal server error, and this is very generic. And I'm gonna use this whenever there is an error and I don't know exactly what happens. So I'm just gonna send this internal server error. Incorrect credentials, when their credentials are not correct. Account disabled, when their account is disabled, and then error processing file. So if an error occur when they the user is trying to change their profile image, then I'm gonna send this error to them. And then there is not enough permission, which is, you don't have enough permission when they don't have enough permission to do something. So I don't want this video to be too long, so we're gonna continue this class, and for right now we just put in some of the constant that we're gonna need, but we haven't even started writing any of the methods yet. So we're gonna do that in the next lectures.